Usually when we talk about collecting data, there's this expectation of absolute precision, almost like engineering, right?
Oh, for sure. It's incredibly comforting to think of it that way.
Right. You take an X-ray, it shows a jagged white line, and the doctor just points and says, there's the break. It's clean. It's binary.
Undeniable.
Mm.
We really like things to be visible and, well, mathematically sound.
But then you actually step into the world of designing data collection tools, and suddenly that X-ray machine is just completely broken. We're looking at a diagnostic landscape that is...
Honestly, it's murky. It's a very murky landscape.
Yeah, exactly. If your tool is flawed, well, your data is flawed. So today on the Deep Dive, we are taking on those murky waters by tackling Lecture 15, Designing Data Collection Tools.
And if you're listening to this right now, grab a coffee and pull up a chair.
Seriously, get comfortable, because you are stepping into the third seat of this study session. Our mission today is a rapid-fire conceptual blitz. We've got 30 exact exam questions, multiple choice questions to break down.
30 questions. And we are going to show you the hidden logic behind every single correct answer so you don't just, memorize the letters.
Right, because if you understand the underlying mechanics of how these tools are built, the exam answers just become glaringly obvious.
Absolutely. So, where are we starting?
Let's start with Section 1, the blueprint. Because before we can even ask questions, we need to know what physical or, digital tools we're actually using and what parts make them up.
Makes sense. The components.
Yeah. And I always assumed the final tabulated results were part of the tool itself. But that's like saying the places you drive to are part of the car's engine, right?
That analogy hits the nail on the head. The tool is the vehicle, the results. That's your destination. And the exam actually tests this exact concept right off the bat in question 21.
Okay, let me read question 21. It asks, which one of the following is not a component of a data collection tool? Option A is informed consent. B is concluding statements. C is identifiers. And D is tabulated results.
So based on that car analogy,
We're definitely circling D, tabulated results.
without a doubt, tabulated results are the output, right? They're generated after the data is collected and analyzed. They're definitely not part of the physical instrument.
Right. But the informed consent, the identifiers to track people, the concluding statement,
Those are the physical bumpers and steering wheels of the survey.
that totally makes sense. So what's the actual engine? Like, what is the main body made of? Which brings us to question 1.
Ooh, this is a good one.
It asks, which component of the data collection instrument is constituted by open, closed, and semi-open items? Is it A, introduction, B, identifier, C, questions, or D, concluding statement? Items usually just means...
That just means questions.
Yeah, so it has to be C, questions.
It is. In research terminology, items is just a fancy formal word for the actual questions you're asking the participant.
Right.
The introduction sets the stage. The identifier keeps track of who is who. But the core engine of the instrument is made up of these question items.
Okay, so we've got our engine. Now, how do we deliver these tools to the participants? Question 2 throws a bit of a curveball.
Let's hear it.
It asks about a self-administered questionnaire and whether it can be A, paper-based or computer-assisted, B, used in face-to-face interviews, C, used in telephonic interviews, or D, all of the above.
Right, so let's break that down.
Well, if I'm on the phone with someone, I'm technically, giving them the answers to fill out.
Yeah.
Why isn't that considered self-administered?
Because the defining feature of self-administered is that the participant is completing the physical or digital form entirely on their own, in isolation.
Ah.
Yeah, the moment you introduce another human being to read the questions, whether that's face-to-face or on the telephone.
It becomes an interviewer-administered tool.
Exactly. The human dynamic changes the data. So the only valid option here is, say, paper-based or computer-assisted.
Got it. The human interaction element totally contaminates the self part. Now, here's where it gets really interesting regarding historical data. Let's look at question 22.
Yeah.
Which of the following is true about a data abstraction form? The options are A, it is used to collect data by going through records. B, it is more valid than a questionnaire. C, it can be self-administered by the participants. Or D, it is also called an observational checklist.
So go back to the word abstraction. An abstraction form is quite literally what you use to extract or, pull out existing information from files.
You aren't asking a living person any questions.
Exactly. You're sitting in a dusty archive room or maybe scrolling through digital clinical records. So the true statement here is A, it is used to collect data by going through records.
which perfectly solves a clinical scenario like the one they give us in question 15.
Oh, the emergency room one.
Right. The scenario is an investigator wanted to study the clinical profile of patients presented with foreign body and nose attended in the emergency department in the last 2 years in a hospital. Which of the following is the most suitable way to collect data?
And the options.
We have A, review of records, B, cohort study, C, randomized trial, and D, focus group discussion.
So if you are taking this exam, you have to mentally underline the phrase, in the last 2 years.
Because time travel hasn't been invented yet.
Right. You cannot do a focus group or launch a brand new randomized trial on ER visits that have already happened. The events are in the past. Therefore, you have to use an abstraction form for a review of records.
Okay, but what if we do want to watch something happen in real time? Like, say I want to stand in a clinic and watch how doctors wash their hands.
That's where observation guides come in.
Yeah. Question 4 introduces the structured observation guide and asks what it does. Is it A, is useful to document certain processes, B, use checklist of items, C, can be used for in-depth interviews, or D, A and B?
Well, if you're observing, you're not interviewing.
Right, you're just sitting quietly in the corner with a clipboard.
Exactly. You are documenting a process, and you're usually doing it by checking boxes on a predefined list. So both A and B are correct, making the answer D, A, and B.
And just to make sure we've hammered that concept home, the exam throws question 17 at us, which is honestly almost identical.
They do love to repeat core concepts.
Seriously. It asks, structured observation guide, A, is useful to document certain process, B, uses checklist of items, C, both A and B, or D, none of the above. Naturally, the answer here is C, both A and B.
It's good that they repeat it, though. Observation guides document processes using checklists. Period.
All right, let's transition to section 2. What are we measuring? Now that we have our tools, our questionnaires, abstraction forms, observation guides.
What kind of information are we actually putting into them?
Exactly. We have to categorize our data. I like to compare facts to reading a bank statement, whereas judgments are like reading a Yelp review of that bank.
I love that. That distinction is essential because coders handle those two types of data very differently.
So let's test that Yelp review theory against question 12. A researcher has framed a question in the research tool as, what is the monthly income of the family? This information constitutes option A is facts, B is knowledge, C is judgments, D is healthy lifestyles.
Well, monthly income is objective. It's measurable.
It doesn't depend on someone's mood.
Right. It doesn't depend on an opinion. It is literally your bank statement. Therefore, it falls under A, facts.
Contrast that with question 7. The information about participants' attitudes for behaviors such as wearing helmets, washing hands before eating, constitute A, facts, B, knowledge, C, judgments, or D, texts.
The key word there is attitudes.
Yeah, I feel like wearing a helmet is a fact of safety, but the question is asking about their attitudes toward it.
Exactly. The moment you ask about an attitude, an opinion, or, a personal belief, you leave the realm of hard, verifiable facts.
You're asking for human interpretation.
Yes, which means the exam wants you to select C, judgments.
Moving right along to section 3, the mechanics of asking. We know what we want to measure, but how do we ask it? Because the format heavily dictates the quality of your data.
Let's start with the most open format.
Okay, question 5. The interviewer does not provide options for responses in A, open-ended questions, B, close-ended questions, C, semi-open questions, or D, all of the above.
By definition, if there are no options provided, it's an open floor. So the correct choice is A, open-ended questions.
And if you somehow missed that, question 19 gives you a freebie by repeating the exact concept.
Another repeat.
Yep. In which of the following type of question, the interviewer does not provide options for responses? The options are A, open-ended questions, B, close-ended questions, C, semi-open questions, or D, closed question with multiple options.
Once again, grab those easy points with A, open-ended questions. You're just leaving a blank space. You aren't leading the witness. You are forcing the respondent to generate their own answer from scratch.
Which honestly sounds exhausting for the researcher. Why do we even want that?
Well, question 13 asks exactly this.
Let me read it. Which of the following is correct in relation to an open question? A, answers are suggested. B, stimulate memory. C, easy to code and analysis. Or D, freedom to respond is compromised.
Think about human psychology for a second. When you don't box someone in with multiple choice options, you give them the freedom to genuinely reflect.
Oh, so it triggers deeper recall.
Exactly. It gives you richer, unexpected data. Sure, It is an absolute nightmare for the person who has to code the answers later, but for the participant, it helps B, stimulate memory.
Let's look at a concrete example. Question 24. Identify the type of the question given below. How do you spend your leisure time? Write any two activities. Options are A, open-ended, B, closed, C, semi-open, D, open question with closed answers.
Because there are no checkboxes provided, this is clearly A, open-ended. They write whatever comes to mind. It's totally unrestricted.
But what if you want the best of both worlds? What if you want the patient to feel like they are speaking freely, but you want the coding process to be, easy?
That is a very real scenario.
Question 25 explores this. Which of the following is true about open question with closed answers? Options are A, its answers are not suggested to the participants. B, it can be used in a self-administered questionnaire. C, it is analyzed like an open-ended question. Or D, it is expressed as a closed question to the participants.
This is a brilliant, sneaky technique used by professional interviewers.
Sneaky how?
Well, you ask the question openly, like, what symptoms do you have today? But on your clipboard, you already have a closed list of checkboxes.
Like fever, cough, fatigue.
Right. And as the patient speaks freely, you silently categorize their answers into those preset buckets. You never read the options out loud to the patient. So the true statement is A, its answers are not suggested to the participants.
Wow, so it keeps the conversation natural, but the data stays clean. I love that.
Ah.
Now, what if you give options but leave a little wiggle room on a paper survey?
The classic semi-open.
Yeah, question 8 asks, the type of questions in which there is a possibility to add other answer in addition to the options suggested. A, open questions. B, semi-open questions. C, closed questions. D, closed questions with multiple options.
If you are studying for this, just remember a simple formula. Checkboxes plus a blank line equals semi-open. The answer is B, semi-open questions.
Which is exactly like the example in question 26.
Let's hear it.
What is the type of the question given below? From where do you usually get health-related information? I, television 2, radio 3, newspaper 4, magazine V. Others specify. We have A, open-ended, B, closed, C, semi-open, and D, open question with closed answers.
The other specify part immediately makes it C, semi-open. It gives you the statistical ease of closed checkboxes, but catches the outlier data you might have missed.
Now, I want to challenge something here. I always assumed a simple yes or no was the absolute cleanest, best data you could get. Why would a dichotomous question ever be a bad thing?
Oh, dichotomous questions can be dangerous.
Question 6 gets into this. What is the disadvantage of closed questions with dichotomous options in a study questionnaire? Options are A, detailed information available, B, oversimplifies the issues, C, forces an unclear position, or D, may not be useful for key, well-framed issues.
Because human experience is rarely just yes or no. Dichotomous means exactly two choices, pass or fail, black or white. If the real world has nuance, a dichotomous question violently strips that nuance away. The disadvantage is that it B, oversimplifies the issues.
Let me see if I can spot the crime against data in question 20 then.
Go for it.
Age in years is commonly a continuous variable. However, a resident doctor decided to ask age as a closed question with dichotomous options. If age 65 years or 65 years, what is the disadvantage of such type of question in a study questionnaire? Options. A, detailed information available. B, oversimplifies the issues. C, forces an unclear position. Or D, it is easy to convert a dichotomous variable to a continuous variable.
Think about what that resident just did. Age is rich, continuous data.
Yeah, a 66-year-old patient is fundamentally different medically from a 95-year-old patient.
Exactly. But by forcing them both into a greater than 65 checkbox, the resident has destroyed that vital detail. Once again, it B, oversimplifies the issues.
Wow, okay. So how do we get that rich data back while keeping things organized?
We use quantitative questions.
Like in question 9. The type of questions in a questionnaire which allow creation of continuous variables as responses. A, closed questions with quantitative answers. B, open questions with quantitative answers. C, both of the above. Or D, none of the above.
You want to lock them into providing a specific measurable number. Their exact age, their exact weight, their exact blood pressure.
Okay.
It is closed because the format is strictly numerical. I mean, they can't write a paragraph about how they feel, but it generates beautiful continuous variable data. The answer is A, closed questions with quantitative answers.
Let's look at a clinical application of that in question 14. Glasgow Coma Scale, or GCS, is a scoring system to understand the consciousness level of a person. The score varies between 3 and 15. A researcher has included a question in research tool, what is the GCS score during admission? This question is an example of A, open question, B, closed question with dichotomous options, C, closed question with multiple option, or D, closed question with quantitative answers.
Well, the respondent must provide a specific number between 3 and 15. It is quantified and highly specific, so it is D, closed question with quantitative answers.
Got it. And rounding out the section, question 11. A question was framed by an ophthalmologist as a part of data collection tool for her research. Which of the following symptoms you had in the last 1 week? The options were 1, eye pain, 2, redness of eye, 3, watering of eye, 4, low vision. Given that a study participant may have multiple complaints, which of the following best describes the type of question? Options. A, open question, B, closed questions with dichotomous options, C, closed question with multiple options, or D, closed question with quantitative answers.
Since they can select more than one predefined answer from a list, it's a classic multiple choice scenario. The correct categorization is C, closed question with multiple options.
Okay, we are making great time. Let's move into section 4. The golden rules of formulating, ordering, and layout. We have our question types, now we string them together.
This is where it becomes an art form.
I compare ordering a questionnaire to going on a first date. You do not sit down at a coffee shop and immediately ask about their deepest childhood traumas.
No, you definitely don't.
It has to flow naturally.
That is exactly how survey flow works.
Yeah.
You are managing the psychological comfort of the participant. But first, let's talk about the actual vocabulary we use.
Good point. Question 3. While formulating the questions, all the following need to be followed, except to Mabray. A, short and clear questions. B, avoid ambiguities. C, avoid words of everyday language. Or D, avoid negatives and double negatives.
But pay attention to the except in the question here. It is asking what rule is fake. You absolutely should use everyday language so your participants actually understand what you're asking them.
Right. So the false rule is C, avoid words of everyday language.
Exactly, which is tied directly to question 27. Which of the following is false about formulating questions in a study tool? A, they must be concise and precise. B, they must use scientific terms. C, they must use a neutral tone. Or D, they must avoid double negatives.
Let me guess. Looking for the false statement again?
Yes. Using heavy scientific jargon or Latin medical terms on a general population survey is a guaranteed way to get confused participants and garbage data. Keep it simple. The false statement is B. They must use scientific terms.
Okay, here is one I might actually push back on.
Oh, let's hear it.
Question 28. Which rule is not followed in the framing of the question given below? When and where did you get tested for COVID-19 infection? The options are A, using a neutral tone, B, avoiding use of double negatives, C, asking a single question at a time, or D, using simple words of everyday language. I mean, asking when and where at the same time just seems efficient to me.
It might seem efficient to the interviewer, but it ruins the data set. This is what we call a double-barreled question.
Double bear.
Yeah, you are asking two distinct things in one sentence. Imagine the participant just answers, Tuesday.
Oh, you got the when, but you completely lost the where.
Exactly. Or if they say, at the downtown clinic, you lost the when, you always have to split these up. The broken rule here is C, asking a single question at a time.
Ah, I see. By trying to save 5 seconds, I ruined the spreadsheet. Good to know. Now back to that first date analogy.
Right, the flow.
Question 10 asks, all are true regarding the order of questions in a data collection tool, except T, A, from intimate to casual, B, from general to specific, C, from simple to complicate, or D, in chronological order if questions related to sequence of events.
Like you said, you never start intimate. You have to build trust first. Start simple, start casual, let them get into the rhythm of the survey.
And then move to the complicated or sensitive topics.
Right. So the exception, the thing you should never do is A, from intimate to casual.
Question 16 reinforces this completely. Order of a question should be all except TA, from simple to complicated, B, from general to specific, C, from intimate to casual, or D, in chronological order.
Once again, the wrong way to do it is C, from intimate to casual. Getting that backwards will cause your participants to abandon the survey on question 1.
And what about navigating through the questions? Question 23 asks, which of the following is false about a questionnaire? A, it can contain instructions or prompts for data collectors. B, it should contain unique participant identifiers. C, it should avoid skip patterns. Or D, it can contain a mix of open and closed questions.
Wait, aren't skip patterns confusing? Shouldn't we avoid them?
Actually, skip patterns are the only thing keeping your survey sane.
Really?
Imagine you ask a participant, "Are you currently pregnant?" and they answer no. If you don't have a skip pattern, they are forced to answer the next 20 questions about their pregnancy cravings and trimester symptoms.
Oh, that would be terrible.
You must use skip patterns to jump past irrelevant sections. Therefore, the false statement is C. It should avoid skip patterns.
That makes total sense. All right, we are in the home stretch. Section 5, final Polish, reviewing and pilot testing.
The most crucial part. The tool is built. The language is clean. But before we unleash it on the real world, we have to test it. Let's look at the review stage. Question 29. State whether true or false. Before using a data collection tool in this study, it will be useful to get it reviewed by a statistician. Options: A, true, or B, false.
The statistician is the person who has to make sense of the data at the very end of the line. If they don't review the tool, you might accidentally collect data in a format that literally cannot be coded, analyzed, or graphed.
So they ensure the data you collect will actually answer your research question mathematically.
Precisely. So this is definitely a true.
And now the pilot testing. Here's my assumption. If I'm studying a specific group of 100 medical students, I should pilot test the questions exactly on a few of those test subjects so I know they get it right.
Let's see what question 30 says about that.
What is false about pilot testing of a study questionnaire? Options are: A, it checks the tool for clarity and acceptability. B, it is conducted among persons who will be included in the study. C, it provides an estimate of the duration of interview. Or D, changes are made to the questionnaire based on its findings.
So your assumption is a very dangerous, albeit common, misconception.
Uh-oh.
This is the golden rule of pilot testing. You must test on people who are similar to your study population, but never the actual participants you plan to use in the final study.
Hey, why not?
If you test on your actual subjects, you contaminate them. They will have pre-thought their answers, they might talk to other subjects, and their final data won't be organic anymore.
Wow. Okay, so the false statement is B. It is conducted among persons who will be included in the study.
Yes, exactly.
Finally, we wrap up the exam with question 18. Which of the following factors related to data collection may lead to study failures? A, poorly defined research question. B, vague timelines. C, lack of supervision. Or D, all of the above.
This is the perfect concluding thought to this entire topic. You can design the most beautiful, statistically sound, perfectly ordered data collection tool in the entire world. But if your fundamental research question is a mess, your timeline is unrealistic, or your field workers are out there making up answers because they have no supervision,
the study will fail.
Exactly. The tool is just one part of a larger ecosystem. The answer is D, all of the above.
And there it is. If you are listening, congratulations. You have successfully blitzed through all 30 MCQs on designing data collection tools. You don't just know the letters to circle, you understand the mechanisms behind the correct answers.
It really is fascinating when you step back. It changes how you look at the forms you interact with every single day.
It really does. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Think about how often you fill out poorly designed surveys in your daily life.
Oh, all the time.
Like the customer service feedback form at a restaurant that asks a double-barreled question like, was the staff fast and friendly? What if they were incredibly fast but incredibly rude?
Exactly.
Or the political poll that forces your complex, nuanced worldview into a simple yes or no checkbox, completely oversimplifying the issue. We interact with these flawed tools constantly without realizing it.
And those flawed tools generate flawed data, which executives and policymakers use to make massive decisions that affect us all.
Precisely. The data that runs the world is only as good as the tool used to collect it. We rely on that X-ray machine to give us a clean picture of reality. But if the machine is built wrong, all we get is muddy waters. Good luck on your exam, and the next time you look at a survey, remember what's happening beneath the surface.